WJR.
Custom built for Detroit. News Talk 760. WJR. It's time for Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Now here's the voice of the Detroit Lions, Dan Miller.
Hey, what's up? Good evening, everybody. It is great to be with you. Why? Because we made it. We are here. It is week 1 of the National Football League season. Things get underway tonight in Kansas City. Chiefs with their openers celebrating their Super Bowl win. Lions on hold until Sunday when they will be at home to take on the Chicago Bears. My friend Mike O'Hara is alongside to talk about this one as well and to talk about the road we have traveled to get here. Michael, good evening to you.
For pro football and its pull on its fans, the meteorological pull that the National Football League has. It's even football weather.
It is.
Right here, early in September, it's football weather.
Yeah, I walked outside. It certainly felt like that after I went to get something to eat tonight. No question about it. Mike, there was a time we didn't know if we were going to be here. And I give the NFL credit. Look, knock on wood, we don't know where it'll go. We don't know how it'll hold up. But to this point, they've done their job in terms of keeping the players safe and getting to the point where they could feel good about opening the league and sending the players out there to play a game.
Well, I think it starts when you go back to early March when leaving from the combine, they pulled the scouts in and laid out a plan and told the teams, we're going to start free agency on time. We're going to plan to start the draft on time. We're going to plan to play on time, and don't complain about it. Just get ready. You can always stop. You can always hit pause, but in real time, right then, just prepare to play pro football. And they made some alterations, obviously, the training camp, no preseason, but here we are 4 days away from the start of the NFL season.
Yeah, and the Lions are ready to go. Big news this week was the signing of Adrian Peterson. It's interesting. You're talking about a guy who has had a Hall of Fame career and who has had 2 pretty good seasons in Washington the past couple of years where he's had over 1,900 yards and averaged over 4 yards a carry. Mike, there are many years where the Lions wouldn't have cared if that was a 33 and a 34-year-old running back. They would have been very, very happy with that kind of production.
And I think they'll be happy if he matches that again. But you made the best point you made right there, Dan. And that's what I look at with an older running back. I mean, the yards and all that are fine and all that other stuff. But I look at yards per attempt. If you've got 150, 200 attempts like Adrian's had, and like you said, 4.2 in 2018, 4.3, 4.0 is a winning play.
Yeah.
And look, you saw him on the interview, the Zoom interview. Guy loves football. He loves to be out there. He loves the whole thing. Even see him a couple of videos I saw him just sort of interacting with the guys already. He's at home in the huddle.
Well, I think for a lot of the players too, and Kerryon Johnson talked about this. You've got a lot of young guys on this team that if you go back to 2007 when he was drafted and he was a stud, obviously coming out of Oklahoma. All right, take that back 13 years. A lot of these guys were 11, 12, 13, 14 years old. This is one of their idols that has now joined this team. So, yes, he's a teammate. Yes, they want him to help them win. But at the same time, there are guys, Frank Ragnow has talked about it. He grew up in Minnesota, that are like, this is Adrian Peterson. It's really cool to have him on our team.
Well, when we asked Frank about him being a fan and what he thought of bringing Adrian Peterson to Detroit, I think he set the world indoor record for saying "wow." But he actually has his jersey somewhere at home, an Adrian Peterson jersey. So look, this isn't just another running back. This is, I'm not going to say icon, but this is legend status right here.
You can throw him up there any way you want. Hall of Famer, we know that.
Hall of Famer, absolutely.
So I asked you this question earlier in the week, and I stumped you, I think. And I said, come Sunday afternoon, which player will lead the Lions in carries against the Chicago Bears opener? And you were hesitant to give me an answer. I think you finally went with Kerryon, but you were grinding on that answer.
I was grinding. I still think it's going to be Kerryon, especially now with the injury status with DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
I look, if Adrian Peterson gets going, and you start feeding the ball, go ahead. He's not going to complain about it. He's not going to say, "Oh, come on, not me." He's going to carry that rock as much as he can. But I
Yeah.
think a combination of catches, combination of runs and catches, I think it's Kerryon Johnson is the lead back until proven otherwise.
Yeah. And I think it's a big year, obviously, for Carrion. He's coming off 2 seasons where he has been hurt. I think he understands what he needs to show this organization in terms of his ability to withstand the rigors of a season and be there for them and to be available for them. So, we could talk about Adrian Peterson, and that's part of the story, and talk about DeAndre Swift, that's part of the story. But they got into position to draft Kerryon Johnson. Now he's got to show them that he can be the kind of guy on a full-time basis that they believe that he was.
And Dan, he carried a lot in short yardage last year, including the goal line, 2 or 3 shots from the 1 yard line. That's going to bring your average per carry down. But still, the fact remains that he was under 4 yards per attempt last year after being in the middle fives as a rookie. So I think there's a lot of proving for him to do. Do I think he's capable? I think to some degree he is. I think he's somewhere in the middle of what we saw as a rookie and last year. I think Matt Patricia, the head coach, made a great point about second-year players. Both him and then Kenny Galladay the year before. People play you different in your second year. They see you, they know you, and they scheme for you. And so the trick is overcome it.
Yeah. There's so many things that I'm intrigued to see. I want to see, I was watching practice this week, and sometimes maybe we read too much into a picture, but you and I have both been watching Matthew Stafford since the day he walked in. And I was watching him in practice. There was just something about the way that he was moving on the field as I was watching the tape. He looked like he was going to jump out of his skin. He just looked like there was something about his mannerisms that said, I can't wait.
I'm with you on that. I'll reference a couple of points in his career that we both know well. 2010, his second year as a pro, he played 3 games, which what he missed, like 19 games his first 2 years combined, something like that. He couldn't wait to get out there at 2011, fully healthy after the surgery on his shoulder, fixed what was wrong. What did he do? He threw for 5,038 passes, 41 touchdowns, and Lions made the playoffs at 10-6 for the first time in 11 years. Now, this isn't the same. We're talking about a mature adult right now who's been a starting quarterback for 11 years. But I think there's a little bit of that, hey, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back, and I know what I missed. And I think he's going to have a great year. He had a great half season last year, and he was just getting warmed up. He was just hitting the downhills there. I think he's on a full flight this year.
He knows what he missed, and Lions fans know what they missed. Not having him in there did not make Sundays very enjoyable at times, because he is a guy who absolutely gives you a chance to win. We'll take a break. We will expand upon these thoughts and bring in Kyle Meinke from MLive.com. We're glad you're with us. This is Lions Review. It is week 1. Lions getting set for an NFC North battle against the Bears. This is brought to you by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Right back after this.
Presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Here's Dan Miller.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Glad you're with us. We are back. It is Lions Review for week number 1 in the season. We're going to be with you each and every week throughout the season. But we're getting ready for the Bears right now as they will be into Ford Field on Sunday for what will be a different look for sure. Mike O'Hara alongside, longtime beat writer for the Detroit Lions, now working for DetroitLions.com. We also want to welcome in Kyle Meinke from MLive.com, our good friend who joins us now. Kyle, good evening to you, buddy. How are you, Kyle?
I'm good. It's week 1, and I can't believe it.
You know what? I was saying this to Mike. We didn't know if we were going to get here, but here we are.
Yeah, there were so many turns during this offseason where I was like, I can see how it would happen, how week 1 would happen, but I'm not sure we're ever going to get there. And we've made it, fellas. We've made it.
Dan and Kyle, I think somebody asked me back like in May, I think they would start on time. And I said, I'd probably be a little more surprised that they do than I would if they don't. But I didn't think it was impossible.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle, you got to. We talked about it a little bit earlier. You got to credit the league. I mean, I think the league did a good job. They could kind of draft off the other sports, learn by what they did. They were in an advantageous position in that they had probably the most precious asset in dealing with this pandemic, which is time. And they've done a heck of a job to this point. Now, listen, there are perilous times to come, you would think, in dealing with this thing still and trying to play football. But to this point, they've checked all the right boxes.
Yeah, the league's done a great job, Dan, even without the bubble. And that was my concern, was that, if you're the NBA, you can insulate your players, at least the players who aren't having, like takeout come to their doors or whatever, takeout girls or whatever the case is going on in the NBA. But you can't do that in the NFL, and so that made me concerned. But the league has done a really good job, and I think the COVID numbers that we've seen, the testing numbers that we've seen have been extremely encouraging. I think it's like maybe 1 or 2 positive cases in, weeks and weeks and weeks at this point. And there's been none since I think like August 1, I think was the last one for the Lions. And while the league has done a good job, I think the Lions and led by Bob Quinn, I think they've done an outstanding job of coming up with a detailed plan, of communicating that plan to players, to player families, to the public. So there was a real understanding of how to protect these guys and what they were going to be doing. And honestly, I don't know how other teams have handled it, but I know in Detroit, Bob Quinn had a hands-on approach with their whole COVID response. And I do think having that kind of like unifying leadership at the top really helped to, have everyone pulling in the same direction and to arrive at a plan, that has obviously worked at this point.
And guys, what about further down the chain? How much credit do the players get for buying in?
Yeah,
just following the plan.
There's a lot of responsibility, right, Mike?
Sure. Yeah.
You can do all the protocols you want, but if you got players going home and doing things they're not supposed to be doing, it's not going to work. And I really think the last positive case for the Lions was August 1. So obviously the players are doing a heck of a job too.
So, Kyle, technical question, and I'll try to avoid significant football jargon here, but I think this is what fans want to know. Are these guys any good?
Well, it's a strange question when you haven't seen them play anyone besides themselves,
I didn't say it was going to be an easy question, but it's the question that we're obviously going to start to answer on Sunday. But based on what you've seen, what your expectations are, dealing with the players and as best as you could through this, virtual preseason time, what's your gut?
Let me put it this way: I had them going last preseason 9-7. They did not go 9-7. So trust my opinion, however you want. But I can't go out to practice every day, Dan, and see that offense and see Matthew Stafford throwing like he's throwing, and Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones and the 6 receivers that they have, the additions they have in the running game. I can't look at those guys and think they're not going to be good. I think the offense is going to be really good. It was really good last year too, and it wasn't enough, obviously, because the defense was so bad. And have they made enough improvements on the defense to make a difference? I don't know. That's the biggest question about this team. But I think they have, and I think this is a good team. And beyond all of that, like talking to players and people around this team, like I haven't felt this kind of chemistry under Matt Patricia before. Like in 2018 was a mess. I mean, people were saying all kinds of stuff. The locker room was fracturing. I mean, Patricia made a lot of mistakes, but he's made a lot of good moves since, and I think he's matured a lot as a head coach, and it's really played out this offseason. And not to make too much of like the Jacob Blake stuff and the George Floyd stuff from earlier in the summer, but like those kinds of things really brought the team together, and they're together in a way that I haven't seen since the Caldwell era. And chemistry doesn't win games, but really good quarterbacks do. And I just think Stafford is looking as good as I've seen him. I had them winning 10 games in my preseason prediction, and maybe I'm sipping that Kool-Aid, guys, but I think they have a chance. I really do.
Guys, I think I'm changing my pick because I got him going 10-6 too. Kyle, you worry me. I want to know what's in your Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Well, here's what I said to Mike. I watched Stafford on video that we shot this week in practice, and you mentioned him a moment ago and how good he's looked. Kyle, to me, and you read body language, and I said this a moment ago, he looked to me like he was jumping out of his skin and ready to go. He just looked so fired up and ready to get back out there and play.
No doubt, Dan. Like you can't play the NFL and not be 100% motivated. It's not to say that he's in a different level of motivation or whatever now, but like there's an edge to him that I haven't really sensed before. I mean, not to plug myself or anything here, but kind of to plug myself here. I got 2,600 words dropping on Matthew Stafford tomorrow morning on MLive. And it's about the crossroads that he's at and this organization is at with their quarterback. You know, I mean, you guys know where I stand. I'm a fan. I think he's really a really good quarterback who obviously has not won in Detroit, and a lot of people hold him to the fire for that. But there's a lot of reasons why they haven't won with Matthew Stafford, and I think a lot of those reasons don't have anything to do with Matthew Stafford at all. Like last year, I mean, he's playing at an incredible level, and the 4-1 or whatever it was because of the defense. And you know, I mean, you guys know the debate. We've been having the same debate for years and years at this point, but it's year 12, and I think there's a crossroads at some point where you just say it just didn't work. And you know who's like Dan Orlovsky told me that, and like Dan Orlovsky is the biggest Matthew Stafford fan there is, and I was surprised to hear him say this. But I Stafford and Orlovsky are boys, and I just think like Stafford is the smartest guy in the room. He knows this is the case as well. You can't. At some point you have to win, and I think with the pieces he has around him, like every receiver who matters is back. Quintez Cephas looking good in camp, Jamal Agnew looking good in camp. I think you're going to see a really good TJ Hawkinson this year, especially in that deep passing game. And that deep passing game was so good last year, and Stafford was so good in it, and that the mindset of the deep ball. And you know, I think he sees this as being, you know, the pieces are in place for him to do something special. And I think he knows that. I think he knows the time is now to make something happen, or it just might not happen.
Hey, let me point out, guys, we're just a really cool scene as they get ready to open the season in Kansas City tonight. Both teams out on the field, locking arm in arm. It was, I don't think it was the anthem. I'm not 100% sure. I obviously don't have the sound up, but there was a moment there where both teams were out there. And you know, Kyle, you've been on top of the story. Adrian Peterson has already said that he's going to take a knee. We will see in the National Football League this year players that will be drawing attention to social injustice. That will be part of the ongoing story week to week. Yeah,
you're going to see it in Detroit too. I know no one wants to go on record because they want to do until Adrian Peterson today, of course. But you know, they want to have some cohesion. The Lions do with what they do. But you know, I mean, talking to guys, there's obviously a plan in place, and you're going to see some fellas down there making their voice heard on an issue that's important to them. Adrian Peterson will be kneeling. He said that on the record today. So those protests are coming back to Detroit this year.
The defense, what are you looking for? We got about just a couple minutes left here. I mean, I think that's the question that we all have about this football team. What has to happen for that defense to be at the level you believe it needs to be to help that offense win games?
Yeah, the number one thing, Dan, to me is that Jeff Okudah has to look like the third overall pick in the draft. The promise is there, the tools are there, the IQ is there, all the pieces are in place, but cornerback is as maybe as difficult as any position on the field besides quarterback to play as a rookie. And it's hard for all of them. We saw that with Darius Slay a few years ago. And then you lose the preseason, you lose the entire offseason program. Jeff Okudah's in a tough spot, and I think he's going to start the season behind Amani Oruwariye, which is a mouthful. And so, it's going to be a process with him. I don't think he's going to start out of the gate, but how good does he get and how quickly does he get there, I think is the number one question. And the number two question is, you have to have a pass rush. I mean, no matter how you measure it, this pass rush was among the worst in the league last year, or maybe the worst in the league last year. And you can have two All-Pros playing cornerback, but if you're not getting pressure on the quarterback, you're going to have issues defending the pass. And I think for Detroit, it starts there.
Kyle, we appreciate it, my man. We will look forward to your Matthew Stafford article, which will be on MLive.com tomorrow.
Yes, sir. 2,600 words, so please give it a click.
Carve out some time, pour yourself a drink, read Kyle's article tomorrow on MLive.com on Matthew Stafford being at a crossroads in his career. Kyle, good stuff as always, my friend. Look forward to seeing you, and we will see you certainly on Sunday at Ford Field.
Always appreciate you, Dan, and even you too, Mike. I appreciate you. Thanks, guys.
I can't
He
wait.
means that too from the bottom of his heart. Even you, Mike.
And I also mean from the bottom of my heart, I can't wait to January to read his column and see if it was right.
You know what? That's the time of year that we're all in right now, Mike, is trying to figure out what this season's going to be and how good this team's going to be. And we have less to go on than look, we tell ourselves don't get fooled by the preseason, then we get fooled by the preseason. Then there is no preseason and we get fooled by practice. So we're trying to figure it out. And look, I've said it before. I think it's kind of Minnesota, Green Bay, then Chicago and Detroit together. They've got questions to answer. Bears are looking to come in here and start answering those questions Sunday too.
Yeah, I agree with what Kyle said about the secondary and the pass rush. I just have them in reverse order. I think the pass rush is number one, secondary is number two, because you've got to be able to protect leads and win games and close it out. And real quickly, in the 12 games the Lions lost, they got outscored 117-59 in the fourth quarter. That is not winning football. That's losing football. It is written in the stats.
And they were right there to win a number of those games, and they just weren't able to get it done. And that's got to turn around this year. Good teams make plays in the fourth quarter and win close games. Most games in the NFL are close games. All right, we'll take a break, come right back. Had a chance to talk with Matt Patricia about this week coming up. You'll hear that next on Lions Review.
96 eastbound express lanes at Davison. An accident, the left lane blocked. Use caution. Upcoming construction scheduled to close I-94 eastbound between I-75 and I-696 from 9 tomorrow evening until 5 Monday morning. I'm Peggy Hodge, WJR Traffic and Weather First.
It's been a gray Thursday and more cloudy weather here into tonight. I think the sunshine returns into our Friday forecast and into the weekend with some warmer numbers, mid-50s for tonight. Most of the range west of Lake Michigan. Partly cloudy Friday, high of 70, and then the chance for some late day showers Saturday, high of 78. Sunday, partly cloudy, 75. I'm Scott Laurie, more at the Weather Channel on News Talk 760 WJR.
Back to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Here's Dan Miller.
Hi, welcome back, everybody. This is Lions Review, brought to you by Henry Ford Health System, the official healthcare provider of the Detroit Lions. Glad you're with us as the Lions get set for Week 1 in the National Football League. And Mike, so I'll throw it to you this way, and I asked Matthew Stafford this earlier in the week. I'll get to his answer in a moment. Did you miss preseason games?
Yeah, I did. I really did.
Because when we have them, sometimes people don't want them. And then when you don't have them, I wondered if people missed them.
Yeah, I really did because, look, for example, last year there's a kid, Bo Benshaw, the offensive lineman from Wisconsin. Kind of followed him through camp and saw him play and actually made the roster in the last game of the preseason against Cleveland. I miss things like that. All those little guys, a kid from Wayne State, Anthony Pittman, I went to Wayne State. Is he going to make the roster? You see you see position competitions. You see the last preseason game, an old guy trying to hang on, a young guy trying to make it. I missed that. I really did.
Well, I asked Matthew Stafford, and he said, no, not really. He said, everybody's in the same boat. He said he feels like they get a lot of great work in camp. And I think probably maybe in year 12, you don't miss it as much. But I do think, as you said, you just rattled off a bunch of guys that are trying to get the eye of a coach. And for those guys, those games are certainly important. There's no doubt about that.
And maybe Matthew doesn't get an awful lot out of it, but maybe a third-string wide receiver gets to play 5 snaps with him, gets something out of it. So it works both ways.
One of those 5 snaps might get you seen by somebody else somewhere where you could end up getting a job. That's those games many times are auditions for players to be able to get a job somewhere else. Now this year there's more jobs with the 16-man practice squad, but it'll be interesting. You think 3 preseason games next year and a 17-game regular season?
I'd say no more than 2. Maybe a combined workout with another team in one of them. But I think we're closer to what they're going to have right now than we have been.
All right. Well,
that makes sense.
No, it does. There's been a strange off season where meetings were all virtual and there was no on the field work. And as we just talked about, there was no preseason games either. So it's been a very different run up for guys that have lived this life for a long time. And I asked Matt Patricia about that as he started moving into week number 1.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I mean, this is coming fast. I think for all of us, we tried to stay in the training camp mode as long as possible because we knew the opportunities to, just have our guys compete in practices were limited. So we wanted to make sure we maximize all those times out on the field to put guys in competitive situations to try to get them better players, but also evaluate the roster. And then, we just got to flip the switch and now we got to go. We got to get ready for a game. And there has definitely been no buildup. It's kind of just from 0 to 60 in no time at all. So we got to do a great job this week of just preparing. We know that it's going to be a little bit unique. It's going to be a little bit different, and obviously with a big challenge with the Bears in front of us. So it's new.
What has stood out about this group and the way that they've handled their business going through camp to you?
I mean, honestly, this group is the same every day. The group, they're so consistent in who they are as people, as who they're just authentic, they're real. And, I love that. I just, you love where where everybody stands, how everybody's feeling. And honestly, they just come in every single day. They want to compete. They want to work hard, and they just want to get better, and they want to try to win. They're trying to make improvements every single day. And, honestly, as a coach, that's all you can ask for, so we'll go out, we'll coach hard, and they work hard and practice hard, and everybody gets better. But it's just the group has been the same every day. It's been so consistent. And that's just, as a coach, that's really all you want. You just want guys to be consistent because that's really how you can judge if everyone's gotten better.
I'd imagine there's a sense of ownership too when you look at the responsibility of taking care of yourself, minimizing your COVID risks as best as possible for yourself, for your teammates, for their families too. And that's something you guys have been working together on really back through virtual camp, through spring and into summer and into now.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things about about everybody here right now is everyone really cares about each other. I think they understand that, when you say, hey, I need to be careful because, my kids, my wife, my grandparents, whatever it is, their own personal health situations, that's real, that's serious. And you make sure you're doing everything possible to take care of your teammates. And you don't want anybody to get sick. So I think from that standpoint, I thought it's been really good so far. We do know that, we're moving into a little bit of a different schedule, a little bit of a different timeline. So we have to be diligent going forward and try to do the best we can. And we'll adjust to it as we go, as we kind of try to feel it out. But I think everyone in general really does care about keeping everybody healthy.
You had Adrian Peterson this week. We've seen what he's done in Washington the past couple of years. We know where he is at this point in his career. But what about the intangibles, the work ethic that he brings, which is pretty legendary around this league? Is that an important component to add to a locker room?
Definitely. Absolutely. I mean, I think, a guy with his obviously resume on the field during game days and what an amazing player he's been, plus the way that he approaches being a professional, what he does every single day. He comes in, how hard he works, the way that he practices, the way that he approaches everything. That's so important for us, when we just kind of, have a culture right now of guys that want to work hard, and he fits right into that mold. And I think it's great for the young guys to see that.
You have a running back room that is talented, but you also have a running back room that have guys that have very diverse skills. And I know, if I read you right, that's what you like the best, because week to week teams don't know what to expect. And week to week, whatever it takes, that guy will have the week to carry the load.
Absolutely. And I think it keeps us versatile all the way through, and it allows us also to be able to adjust in the game. If something maybe in the game that we see that's better or not as good, and we need to go in a different direction, we have those guys with different skill sets to be able to do that. And then again, on top of that, trying to cross-train all of our backs to be able to do multiple things, I think puts a lot of stress on the defense. So, we like to try to operate that way.
We've talked about how different this year has been. You got your guys down to Ford Field last week. They will be, some of them, at Ford Field for the second time coming up on Sunday to play a game that's real. How big was that experience to be able to run through everything, all your game day protocols?
Yeah, I mean, it was critical for us. I mean, not only for the players, but for the coaches. There's a lot of coaches that haven't been down there yet either. And, from our standpoint, sometimes even just getting to the game, where do we park? Where do I go? How do I get in the building? You don't want to do that for the first time on game day. So just even the simple things like that might seem routine for everybody else. You got to remember there's a lot of guys that are doing it for the first time. So just to get that all out of the way, to be able to see the locker room, to be able to see the setup, which is a little bit different, with some of the COVID things that we've done down there to keep it safe. Was good for everybody. We actually brought the coaches down a couple of days later in an empty stadium, put on the headsets and went through our communication one more time. We put on the video boards and just practiced as coaches, because that's going to be critical for us during the game. So from that standpoint, is trying to maximize everything we can do to simulate the games that we haven't gotten through preseason and try to get ready to go. But we know, there's really no substitute except for game day itself.
Final thing, openers are always packed with emotion. A little more so when it's a divisional opponent that you know pretty well.
No doubt. I mean, the first two right out the gate. So we're division, and we got to get going. So it'll be, emotion will be high, I think, for everyone just to get on the field and play football against another team. I think, if you go back to the spring, that was such a far reality for everybody at that point that, here we are, we're in game week and we're getting ready to go. So I think just from that standpoint alone, it'll be very emotional, and, everybody will be ready to go on both sides of the ball. But certainly the game's going to have to settle down, and we're just going to have to go out and try to play good football.
There he is, Lions head coach Matt Patricia, talking about the game coming up on Sunday and everything that's gone on to this point and what's behind them, and the virtual off season and the preseason that, really didn't present, Mike, the coaching opportunities that you normally get in the preseason. There were less practices. You didn't have joint practices. You didn't have games. But there's still, and Kyle touched on this, there's an air of confidence about Matt Patricia, who I've said this before, I just believe I've seen him grow in each of the 3 years that he's been here.
On the surprise meter scale of 0 to 100, it's a 0 for me that he would take his coaches to Ford Field and put the headphones on and practice coaching. he leaves absolutely nothing to chance. Nothing. That's
Well,
within
and
his
think
control.
about it. He's right. I mean, these guys don't know where to park. You don't want them showing up on game day and thinking, okay, do I go down St. Antoine? Do I go down Brush? Where am I going here? How do I get to where I need to be? I mean, everybody's got to figure out the lay of the land. And this year has been just so out of whack that you want to make sure everybody's taken care of.
And someday they're going to have to go down there where there's traffic on game day too. And so you cannot
No,
be
there
late for work.
There won't be
Absolutely.
much traffic on game
No,
day.
absolutely not this time. But someday there will be. Then
Yeah,
you gotta be able-
you, me, and a couple of ushers will be going down there, and I don't even know who they're ushing. There's not going to be a whole lot going on down there, and that's the other thing, Mike, is this whole no fans in the stands thing. That's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out and looks and affects it. We've seen it in hockey, we've seen it in basketball, but it'll look a little bit different. I can tell you out of the corner of my eye, I've been watching the Texans and the Chiefs, and here's a dirty little secret. It looks like a football game.
As opposed to, look, when people, sometimes I wonder what is the impact of fans on a game, and usually there isn't. But remember the 2011 season, Game 5 against the Bears on Monday Night Football, 66 or 67,000 at Ford Field, and it was so loud in there. The Chicago Bears offensive line was at false started 9 times, 10 times.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, tell me that's not impact. Of course it is. Now it doesn't happen every Sunday, either way, but it can happen. Sometimes the fans can make an impact.
So I will ask you this, and I will ask this question of others along the way. Is there such a thing as home field advantage anymore if there are no fans?
Well, it's very narrow to begin with, even in a regular situation. But I think with the travel and just the familiarity of your surroundings, I think there's an advantage to being at home. I don't know. I can't quantify it. I can't give you a number. Las Vegas usually puts 3 points on it, and I usually go with them.
That's not a bad idea. They've got big houses out there in Las Vegas that they have built with people that don't go with them. All right, we'll take a break. Come right back. This is Lions Review brought to you by Comerica Bank. Experience full service banking at Comerica Bank. Learn more at Comerica Bank. Closing thoughts as we move in towards the opener against the Bears, which will be, of course, right here on Lions Radio on Sunday. We'll give you some thoughts on that when we come back.
back to more Lions Review. Presented by MGM Grand Detroit. Believe in your game. Here's Dan Miller.
Rolling right along. Final moments of the show here. Lions Review as we get set for the opener against the Bears coming up on Sunday. Michael, I'm going to throw 3 storylines from the NFL at you, and you may have another one, but here's what I think are really the top ones around the league. Brady in Tampa, Belichick without Brady, and then Mahomes trying to do it again and just really move along towards cementing himself as this next all-time great.
I think Brady and the Bucs will not be as good as what Tampa Bay thinks he was getting. I just don't see 43-year-old quarterback in a new system doing it. I think Bill Belichick will be Bill Belichick, and he'll wring every yard, every tackle, every sack, every win out of that team and make the playoffs again and win the division.
Wow,
and the other one, the Chiefs. I think they'll probably be the best team in football, but I would take the field because nobody has repeated in 16 years. Since the Patriots of 2004 and 5, I believe. So the odds are against them. That's the only reason I'd go against them. I'll take the odds.
Yeah, I think it provides for a very interesting season. I tend to agree with you. I didn't think Brady looked like the Tom Brady of old last year, which is okay when you're 42. We obviously still got him in position to have a chance in the playoffs before they got knocked out. But I think it's a lot to put on a 43-year-old quarterback's shoulders. And it's so hard to stay healthy in this league for 16 games, but he's got a lot of talent around down there. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. He's an all-time great. We'll see what happens. I don't think he's going to look like Joe Namath, when Namath went to the Rams, but I just don't know what to expect out of him at that age. And I like you, have my doubts.
I also don't think he'll be Joe Montana, who took the Kansas City Chiefs to an AFC championship game.
He did. Yeah, he did. And then I think, when you talk about Belichick, those two will always be joined at the hip, but if Belichick goes out and wins a division with Cam Newton, and not to say Cam Newton's not a good player because he is, but if Brady leaves and he wins again, then that probably puts an end to all the, was one built on the other, and we can just say, you know what? They were both great. They were both great.
Well, just to reference one little thing, 2008, the year after they went in 2007, they went 16-0. Brady goes out in the first quarter. For the season, they plug in Matt Castle and they go 11-5.
Yeah. So
he
an 11-win team that didn't make the playoffs, which was crazy enough.
Right. They lost on the tiebreaker. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so many storylines to watch. I got about a minute left, Mike. Just when you sit down to watch this one on Sunday, first thing you are looking at is what?
Can the offensive line control the rush of the Chicago Bears? But if Khalil Mack is Mack again, if Robert Quinn gives him what he gave Dallas, and if Akeem Hicks is back from that injury, it's going to be a real load. But if they can block him, Matthew Stafford will pick them apart. I think he will, and I think the Lions will win 26-13.
Wow, I got a prediction out of that too.
Yes.
13 would indicate that they played pretty well defensively, which is probably the other thing that I'm going to be watching very closely as well.
Yeah, and me too, because like I said, if you can't stop them in the fourth quarter, you can't win. You've got to be able to turn the ball back over to the offense, either to score again or milk the clock and run out the game.
Michael, great stuff. We look forward to talking to you every week. Next Monday night, we'll be wrapping this one up as the Lions get set to open the season against the Chicago Bears. Let's do this, everybody. This is going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us tonight. We look forward to being with you throughout the season. We'll see you on game day.